Right guys, let's go straight to the front lines where Russia wants to take the advantage. Actually, there is one more point where Russia penetrated the border with Ukraine, according to the recent update from the deep state military map. So it was yesterday and it is today. You may say that Ukraine has left the territory of the Russian Federation and now the battlefield expanded towards the Ukrainian Sumy Oblast. So actually it's the idea of Russia to go to the Sumy region to intensify the strikes from all of the directions, but still the main effort Russia takes in the eastern side of Ukraine. Nevertheless, they want to expand in the Sumy region. Kind of the strange strategy is for me, because they expand their supply lines, and Russia is not very strong with their supply lines, as we already know. So I expect for Russia this operation will be the same as in the Kharkiv region, so just a limited success penetration of the first defense lines of Ukrainian armed forces, but they will stack in Sumy as they stack over here. The main problem here for Ukraine that Russia may strike also Sumy city. If they reach Yunakivka, for example, they might do it with FPV drones, especially equipped with fiber optic cables. But for now, there is no imminent threat for the city, even though Putin is determined to attack it and to take it under control, basically occupy it. Also, Ukraine is quite active in Kursk Oblast, for example, near Totkina village. It was confirmed that Ukrainian sabotage groups were spotted in Totkina itself, and Russia mainly led the settlement. They operate in defense mainly with artillery, FPV drones and mortars. And according to the Russian published videos, I may see that they attack mostly with aviation gliding bombs. This is the Ukrainian position not far away from the border with Russia in Sumy region, and as you may say, it was definitely hit. Guys, all of this data I take from the Myko Center 3, and here's, for example, this point. You can click on it and check the source of the information, which is now being geolocated. Well, nevertheless, Ukraine also strikes Russian positions. The deep state military map gives us this information, and they state that Ukraine is using lots of the FPV drones. So even though Russia is moving forward, Ukraine continued to cut their forces. And you know, for the last night, Ukraine hit two of the big logistic centers of Russia, one in Rilsk and the other one in Lvov. It's not far away, as you may see, from the border between Russia and Ukraine. I guess in Rilsk it was the huge Russian military base, and in Lvov there was the train station where the train was parked at the time. Yeah, obviously the military train which delivered some of the supplies to Russians at the front. The video evidence I already posted on my Telegram channel, so if you follow me there, you already know this information. So this is Lvov, their train station with the train. And here we see Rilsk. There are some of the images, eyewitnesses who are scared. We get scared. We heard some of the kabooms, and definitely they were happening in the place. We have lots of the video evidence, but mostly because of the restrictions, I cannot show you them here. What can I tell? That behind that building is the Russian military base that was kaboomed. So Ukraine tries to work long range to stop the Russian military infrastructure before it gets to the front lines. It's the smart move, but whether Ukraine has all of the capabilities, for now not. And our allies, I guess, should help us a little bit more. Hello my friends and welcome, my name is Dennis and this is the latest update from Ukraine. Let's go. As you may see, I am filming outside today. Unusual, right? And you know guys, right away I want to recommend you the Ground News platform. I've worked with them in a partnership already for a very long time, and they're awesome news aggregator which gives you the more detailed, more fresh information with just a couple of clicks. For example, they have the dedicated chapter for the war in Ukraine or the news about Ukraine. So here we may see Ukraine orders evacuation of 11 villages in the Sumy region. So we may check out the news with brief explanation. 79 of the news agencies report about this one, so those are important for Ukraine, and Ukraine takes care about civilians. That's why it orders the evacuation at the proper time. My friends, I highly recommend to subscribe for the Ground News using my personal link. It's ground.news/Dennis. You may find it just in the video description. Here Ground News gives you the bias distribution, as you can see, mostly reported from that center. It is good, the high factuality of the news confirmed, and all of the news agencies are sorted over here. For example, Spiegel gives the very high verify factuality. The Independent, however, has the mixed factuality, so for this particular news I would listen or read Spiegel. Let's check, for example, TF1, that's the French media. They say that definitely the threat from the Russia is growing in the Sumy region, and they have the detailed explanation. I don't have the ad blocker, sorry. So yeah, at first we have the information about 11 of the villages, but it is said that total of 213 towns in the region have already been placed under evacuation orders, so it is huge actually. Well guys, I think it's also connected with new defense line which Ukraine builds in the Sumy region also. Later on I'm gonna tell you more details about that one. But here guys, again, couple of the words about the ground news, which is the sponsor of my channel in general and today's video including, but I was subscribed for the platform long before our sponsorship, and they give information not just about Ukraine but about other news around the world. Some trending topics, politics, Trump, our main patient, and so on. The ground news is not the big media corporation and they rely on our subscription, so I highly recommend to subscribe for the ground news using my personal link right in the video description below. It's ground.news/Dennis, or scan the QR code which you see on the screen. And you know guys, by subscribing for the ground news you also help to maintain my channel. Simply my job here on YouTube depends on our sponsorship with the ground news and your kind support as well. Yeah, guys, stay awesome, and now let's continue. So yeah, I already told you yesterday about the big defense line which is now under construction and mostly already been built. Well, here's the Kharkiv region, but according to my information, Ukraine is also building the same stuff in Sumy. So let me tell you more details on this example. This is the Russian defense line in Crimea. As you can see, it all goes as the one line, and actually it is kind of dangerous for the soldiers who deployed there. Ukraine also built those kind of the lines before, but they are very weak. It means that if the enemy soldiers, in this case Ukrainian soldiers, go to this defense line at some single spot, they might actually with some fights go through all of it, causing Russians to run away and basically KIA. So now the new strategy, at least it is coming from Ukraine, is to build T-type of the defense lines. So like this T here, T line here, and the communication is going like far behind the front lines, and it is easy to cut this communication. So what's the advantage? If the enemy goes to the trench, it just occupies part of this territory. Without any sort of the connections, enemy just cannot attack inside the trench. So soldiers have to go outside on the top, and there they're very vulnerable. So this new strategy, building those T-type of the defense lines, actually causes the Russians more losses. Yeah, we have some frogs here. The battle isn't going for every defense, small defense line. It is very exhausting for any sort of the attacking army. And guys, we're gonna check out the other directions of the front lines just a little later. Now I'm gonna speak about some very important news. Probably Russia will be under sanctions. Well, I'm not yet sure about it, but some of the American Republican senators attended Kiev yesterday. One of those senators is Mr. Graham, who came out with initiative to apply more sanctions on Russia and extra sanctions or secondary sanctions, or you may call them tariffs, on companies who work with Russian fossil fuels. Well, they have now absolute majority in Senate. 82 of the senators are willing to vote for this project, but it is being blocked so far, or slowed down, let's say, by Donald Trump. Well, Donald Trump was asked today whether he is supportive towards that project, whether he wants to apply sanctions on Russia. Well, Trump said that he haven't seen that project yet, so then he's familiar with it, he'll say yes or no. Kinda strange. This project is absolutely top news, one of the top news out there relative to Ukraine. So it means that Donald Trump probably doesn't care about anything, especially Ukraine. The only thing, or the only person Trump cares about is himself. By the way, this is his screen, block screen on his iPhone. Journalists spotted that, so just imagine having yourself on your phone as the block screen image. It's kind of surreal. Usually there are some of the relatives or people you like or things you like, but here Trump likes himself. And you know, guys, there is the pressure building up on Donald Trump to, after all, apply sanctions on Russia. Yeah, Donald Trump doesn't want to do it, but majority of Republicans, they want to make it happen. And yeah, even MAGA, they may not like Ukraine at some point, some of them, but they don't like Russia more. I mean, majority of those, even MAGA. And that's why they want Trump not to tackle and at least to apply sanctions and also sell weapons to Ukraine. Sell, I mean, Europe could pay for the weaponry delivered to Ukraine. It will be kind of hard for Europe as well, but Europe doesn't have the other choice. Otherwise, if Ukraine fails, Russia may attack Baltic countries or even Poland. Alright guys, again, breaking news, Russia launched the massive attack on Ukraine, this time just with drones so far. As it is forecasted by Ukrainian official monitoring channels, Russia may launch up to 300 drones today on Ukraine. And that's the situation in Ukrainian forests, so instead of mushrooms, we have those drones which were collected just in this patch of the woods. And let's go back to American politics for a moment. As you know, Elon Musk was dismissed actually from his position as the chief of Dodge. And yeah, what is happening with Elon? He is relaxed. This guy has never been so close to Mars as now. And what he has under his eye. Indeed, it's not a Photoshop. He definitely came like that without wearing suit and with his eye being colored. Yeah, Elon Musk is going. Those are the good news actually. He will be remembered as the most delusional, unofficial person who messed up with official things. Because of his stupid ambitions, Elon Musk lost billions of dollars. Alright guys, back to the front lines. Ukraine tries to counterattack Russian forces in Zaporizhia direction. Recently, Ukraine was successful over there, pushing the Russian army a little bit to the south. Ukraine also uses some of the aviation bombing. In Taurus direction, I would say that situation is 50-50. There, Russia has advantages somewhere, and also Ukraine has the advantage. Ukraine uses lots of the drones, and recently was able to capture some of the Russian prisoners, or soldiers you may call them. Now they are prisoners. Just to remind you, the official Russian military command reported about liberation of Toretsk on 7th of February. So how many months ago? 3? But after it, they were forced to retreat from many of the points of that settlement. It is not successful direction at all for their army. And Ukraine is also trying to counterattack a Russian army not far away from Staritsa, so far without territorial gains, but there are significant losses caused for Russians at first. It is happening in the northern side of the Kharkiv front lines. The front line here in general is standstill. But there is the point where Russians are successful, so between Toretsk and Pokrovsk they try to expand their bridgehead even more. Every day they are on attack, so it was yesterday, it is today that they attacked towards Yelizavetovka, occupied this village, and they also went to Zorya, I guess. No, they went to Nativka. Nativka is over here, kind of the small village, but nevertheless they're moving kind of fast. And here it comes Popiv Yar. Okay, this is Tula. Again, Ukraine hits the Russian munition. Wow! Every night Ukraine aims towards the Russian military facilities, and usually no civilians are hurt in Russia. But in Ukraine, the situation is vice versa. Russia aims mostly towards civilian infrastructure. That's how Putin wants actually to press Ukraine to act according to his will. Alright, Ukraine started to use some of the ground drones for evacuation. Well, this one didn't go fully well because the drone was attacked, but the soldier after all survived. He sustained wounds before, and during the evacuation he was also hurt with FPV, but somehow remained alive. And this drone after all managed to get the soldier back to Ukrainian positions. In the videos coming from the front lines, I see more and more of those drones, and they sometimes also help to mine fields. Doing it remotely is way safer. Right, we have some breaking news from Russia. The Russian passenger train went off from the bridge in the Bryansk Oblast, together with the bridge, as you may see. Those are the breaking news coming up just right now while I am filming this video. Could it be a Russian provocation? Yeah, why not? Ukraine is simply out of the tools to kaput the bridge that far away. So maybe Putin again wants to show to the Russian society that Ukraine is that bad that they hit civilians. As you see, they hit the bridge, so the train went off. I guess something like that. With Chechens it was the same story. But civilians are not the target of Ukraine. No, Ukraine aims towards the military infrastructure. Okay, I see it was the highway and it dropped down on the train, so on the railways, and maybe train went into this bridge, collided with it, and that caused, of course, probably even a disaster. Alright, Astra, which is kind of the reliable Russian opposition source, reported about the possible attack on Putin's helicopter. Well, actually I heard about those news roughly 3 days ago, then Putin attended Kursk Oblast with his visit. So Russian Defense Ministry reported about the drone strikes on a Russian helicopter which was carrying Putin. At the same time, with the help of the mighty Russian air defense, all of the Ukrainian drones were shot down. Immediately back then I say that it's some sort of the fake news. I spread it just on my Telegram channel because after all I don't think it's serious, and today we have the confirmation that definitely it was a fake one. The Russian FSB made the things up, we have the internal information about it. So what's the goal, you may say? Well, they just want to show that Putin is like that, like ordinary Russians. He experienced the same threats from the drones, you know, he's quite a risky boy. But de facto, not even close. Astra also reported about the Kaboom in Desantnaya Buchta in Vladivostok. Vladivostok is located like thousands of kilometers away from Ukraine. It's far east of Russia. However, there is the confirmation of the two of the Kabooms, one on a checkpoint, the other one in GSM. GSM means flammable materials, so probably some of the fuel depot or something. Well, at first local officials reported that it was the Kaboom of the propane in the car, but no. This version absolutely doesn't fit because they blocked all of the access to military facilities and not military facilities which are close to this bay. My guess that it was hello from Budanov, and Ukraine used some of the local saboteurs for that mission to show Russian military that they cannot hide even in Far East bases. Alright, HIMARS is in operation in Zaporizhia direction, I guess, as it was reported. So this is the radar of the Tor system, which was kaboomed by HIMARS. Awesome job by Ukrainian artillerists. Almost every month, Russian army is still capable to get roughly 40,000 volunteers. It is crazy, but they're running out of the Russian ones. Yeah, it's difficult for those who are in poverty, and sometimes they're looking for the simple solution to just join the Russian army. However, usually it's a one-way ticket, and Russia now aims towards foreigners and those new Russians who just obtained Russian passports, and according to their obligations they should serve in the Russian army. They are usually taken to Ukraine. Let's watch this video. There are some of the mercenaries and Russians mixed together. I'll expedite this video by 50%.
Адам 28 лет.
Момент 24 года.
Откуда вы?
Дагестан.
Бушите. Битай Пита Дженга. Кения. 22.
Мухаммадиан Хатиби, Иран.
Много лет, ладно.
Мутай Феликс, 28, Кения.
Меня зовут Сум Чанджа. Мне 20 лет. Я с Китая.
Аумаме Кафарли Дамьян, Colombia.
Alright, so those are basically foreigners, mainly from Kenya, China, Bangladesh, and yeah, different countries, as you may see, and they're on the train. They were on the training and then came to the fighting squad here. And some of them are Russians, you might say kind of the elderly Russians actually. Also, some people like this one came from the small republics of Russia, like Ingushetia, Dagestan. They have very low population actually compared to Russians, compared to Moscow, but still Russia hires those mostly because those regions, they live in poverty. And still, unfortunately, they're willing to go there just for millions of rubles, but usually those millionaires buried 2 meters underground. And if they later on refuse to fight, usually Russians tighten those soldiers to the tree for forever. They just leave those somewhere for a Ukrainian drone to finish their lives. It's their usual execution or sacrifice to the god of Ukrainian drones. Guys, the worst position out there is to be a soldier in the Russian army. Well guys, and now please don't forget to check my personal link for the Ground News. The Ground News is the awesome platform which keeps me running, filming videos almost every day. My big recommendation. I'm really proud that I work with them. And now I wish you all a peaceful sky. It's kind of dark here, wherever you are, and have a great time.